I have taken probably 1,000 sales calls of one kind or another. And I'm only saying that because I know how many books projects we've done. And I know what the ratio is um, of how many people I have to talk to get a project. So maybe it hasn't been 1,000, but it's been a lot. And the question always comes up of why do you want to write a book? And I think it's important to think about that when you're considering writing a book because it gets so difficult at points. It's hard enough to battle, the difficulty of it, but then there's also spiritual warfare. There's all kinds of things that get in the way, and it's just stinking hard to do. It's hard to get two-thirds, three-fourths into a book and it not start falling apart, or you not start forgetting, where you started and all that stuff. So it really is a difficult thing to do, and you really have to be driven by the reason that you're doing it. It's almost cliche at this point to talk about find your why. The five things that I mentioned in my article this morning, one is that I've been through something hard, and I need it to help somebody. I need to redeem this thing. I've learned something. So I need people to know what I've learned. And that's perfectly beautiful reason to write. People want to make sense of their suffering and they want to see someone benefit from it. And I bet the majority of my clients, that's part of their why. The other one is I have a business or a ministry to build, and I need to establish I want to establish credibility, and I want to just further my reach. I want to help more people with my ministry. It's an authority accelerator. I bought a web domain, a Kingdom Authority Generator, because I want to add to this what this is for some people, because for some people it's going to be helpful for us to generate articles and content. And it's for the same reason. We have a message, we have a ministry, we have a business which I almost consider a ministry, and we need to get the word out. We need another way of getting it to people. We need another way of building credibility. This is what my own book, the one book I've written for myself, the how to write a short book on writing, the Heart to Page short book on writing a Christian book. The only reason I did that was because that's the business I'm in, and I wanted to be able to send that book out. Whenever anybody asks me for a sample of my writing, I can give them that book on PDF for free. They not only see a sample of my writing, but my whole philosophy of writing a book, which is what I'm trying to do. So it's super useful for me. A lot of the times these whys combine. So if you have I've been through something hard and I want to know my suffering has purpose, they also are building a ministry. And indeed, part of what I counsel all my clients is that you're building something with this book, because you've got to build your own audience, and using your book to help do that for this book and for any book coming after is really smart. The third thing is simply I'm trying to leave a legacy. But I wrote a book recently for a man who pretty much just wanted to share what he's been through and what he knows with his grandkids. Yeah, so he wants to leave a legacy for his family. That's his whole. Even has a whole chapter on purpose and discovering that his really his main purpose in life. And he was an Air Force officer, missile commander, did all kinds of things, but he thinks his purpose in life is his family. And so he wrote the book. And he has pancreatic cancer and just feels um urgency about sharing what he wants to share with them. So that's one reason that people write. A lot of people will just say, everybody tells me I should write a book. Usually somebody's got a crazy story and they just keep hearing people say, you should write a book. And sometimes that leads to the fifth reason, which is the number one reason that I hear. And so much so that I almost never hear anybody say not say this, which is God called me. God called me to write a book. God told me to write a book 10 years ago. I haven't done it. 20 years ago, I haven't done it. I need help. And you just have to have that written down somewhere. This is why I'm doing it. Now, on the topic of why, this is a much bigger issue than just writing your book. This is now me switching into pastor slash life coach because I want you to understand that if you do anything without knowing why you're doing it, you're going to drift. And this, I believe, is the key to life. And when I first really started to think about this, it was at a time when I was trying to understand something about the markets, the trader market, the commodities market. You know what a commodity is? Like pork bellies and oil, and people will trade futures, and I was just trying to understand that because I don't believe in investing in something you don't understand. And I'll say I still don't understand it well enough to invest in it. So I have boring stock investments, but the point is, what I've figured out about these traders is that they are ruthless about trading for value. And if you just think about what they do, they try to look at something and decide where they're going to put their resources into something that is going to be more valuable than what their resources are. So they see something for $10 that they think is, they have a reason in their system, in their reasoning to think it's going to be worth $20. Then they trade their $10 for the future $20 trade. Now you may think that's speculation, whatever. I think if they know what they're doing, it's a very intelligent thing to do. But if you back out and you look at your life, everything should be like this. If you haven't sat and thought about why you do what you do, you need to do that. And if you've done that once, but you haven't revisited it, you need to revisit it because everything that's worthwhile is probably hard. And the life where you drift into the easiest things is going to be a very mediocre life with very mediocre results. Isn't that cool though, that you have some control? Like I'm a firm believer in the sovereignty of God and surrender, living a life of surrender. But we're talking about stewardship. We're talking about budget. One way you might want to think is, what's the value of your time? Ephesians 5:15. Look carefully then how you walk, not as unwise but wise, making the best use of the time because the days are evil. Therefore, do not be foolish, but understand what the will of the Lord is. S- s- I'm gonna. This is going to be our teaching passage for Sunday, so it's fresh on my mind. The other place that I think about this is James 4, which usually James 4 is in the beginning of James 4 when it's talking about conflict, what causes fights and quarrels among you. You desire, you don't, and you don't have, so you kill. There's something about that verse that it's obviously about my desires conflicting with the person's desires who I'm in conflict with, but there's another way to read that as your desires inside you are at war. Inside you, you don't have your desires, you don't have your values in a hierarchy. And so we're just talking about conscious stewardship of your life and just knowing that there's all kinds of things that are going to cause expedient impulses. If you don't think about why you want to do what you want to do, then you won't do anything that's like really important. You'll do the bare minimum. You'll do what your body desires. You'll do what comfort calls for. You'll do what um, appetite lust. I mean, all those things. There really is something about in Christ, surrendered to Christ, being a steward and trading. It's all about that's why the traders are so interesting to me because they just don't do anything that's not of value. And if though it if, and I've just seen many of them learn to apply what they apply to commodities to their life. Because once you start thinking like a trader, you start thinking about what has value. I was getting ready to say, I will I will sometimes pick an arbitrary number to value my time when I'm thinking about how I'm going to spend it. And I'm considering opportunities if someone's wanting me to do something. I'll just think, okay, my time is worth $5,000 an hour. I don't make $5,000 an hour, but I want to value it that way because it helps me to think about the opportunity and the way I'm going to spend that time.